Hello and welcome to episode 66 of the Free Amigos Dash podcast. I'm Mark Mason and I'm joined by my fellow amigo Joel Valenzuela. How's it going? Hola. We're keeping the Latin theme this week, and the past two podcasts have been focusing on projects in Venezuela. So we're working our way around the map. And we've been next door to Colombia. So this week we have George Donnelly of Dash Colombia. So welcome, George, to the podcast.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Joel. It's a real pleasure to be here. Really awesome.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that this is the fourth podcast in a row we've done, i.e. an entire month of nothing but people in Latin America. We've had a few different people on from Venezuela. We've had Rodrigo, who also went to Venezuela and is talking about Brazil as well. So this is interesting that, like, how many other projects could you think about that have this kind of a thing where you can just keep on exploring new areas of what's going on in just one region of the world and then just keep the thing going. So, and I have a feeling we could probably keep this going for 2 to 3 months straight if we just were looking into all the Dash influencers in just Latin America. So you're in good company here. It's nice to cap out the Venezuelan love fest by showing that it's not just in Venezuela. There's other places is going on too.
Yeah, here in Latam, Dash has a deep bench. You know, we've got a lot of great leaders here, not just Venezuela and Colombia, but also Argentina, Mexico, and other people are coming up, Haiti, Peru, Chile, Paraguay. So there's a lot of interesting things happening here, and really kudos to you guys. Thanks for covering the LATAM angle so much.
Oh, no problem. So, George, tell me about Dash Colombia and your involvement yourself. When did you get involved and why?
Well, for a while, I've been kind of watching the crypto space to see when would be a good time to get involved and to start working on crypto mass adoption, because I really want to see crypto go everywhere and be used every day. And around in March, a friend of mine connected me with Eugenia. She connected me with Edward Stover of Dash DAO Red, and then I started doing meetups in Medellin. And I was just really impressed because I didn't realize before just what was going on with Dash, the whole instant send, the treasury, evolution, all that stuff. And I've just been so impressed by the people in the community and the technology, of course, the low fees, the instant transactions, that I just said, oh, I gotta do this with Dash. You know, there's nobody else out there really that would make any sense. So
I like that sentiment, and it reminds me of my own world it's just nothing else would make any sense. And I used to be a big hardcore Bitcoin guy living off of Bitcoin. I've actually been promoting and using Bitcoin more years in my life than Dash total. And it just, when that just was not working anymore, I couldn't use it anymore to live on. I didn't say, well, I'm just going to go for my second favorite, Dash. It was, I'm going to go for the next thing, the only next thing that makes sense. And Dash was the only thing that was there. So I'm glad to know that it's not just my own self and my own conclusions and biases, that other people are coming to the same conclusion.
Totally. From November, December, January, I was researching really every coin out there just to see what was going on, because I think it was around 2014 or 15, all the slow transactions, the expensive fees with Bitcoin. It was just so discouraging. I just kind of stopped paying attention to the space for a while.
Wow. Well, you're in good company. In the live chat, Edward from Dash.Red has just joined. Another Colombian amigo. So
hi, Edward.
It's great. It's great to see you, Edward. Get that another proposal in. I want to see Dash.Red back up and running. Yeah.
Dash.Red is such an interesting project. Yeah, people are confused about it. I mean, it's a faucet and it generates a huge number of legitimate transactions. So really,
yeah, man.
Yeah, I definitely would want to revisit that project. I think a lot of people didn't understand what it was. A lot of people thought, oh, great idea, I'll fund it when the treasury is full. And then when the treasury starts to become tighter, then they just say, well, what's this? I just get rid of it. Like, it's just that simple. I mean, it's unfair. I don't think it's a fair treatment. But I have a feeling a lot of master donors might have done that. They might have thought, this is worth a shot. Why not? And then when funds are tight, they didn't examine what they've been funding the whole time. But how do I get Dash is one of the most important questions I hear on a day-to-day basis. And it's not always that easy. Sometimes you have peer-to-peer transactions for cash or whatever. Sometimes you can set up your Uphold account if support gets through to you. But like, hey, I can just just play a little game and then do sign process and just get some and play around. It's just very risk-free. And I really think that when we start wanting to onboard a lot of people, this is going to really be important. The other thing is, I don't know. It might have something to do with branding if I think about this. And I'm going to shut up about Dash.red for a while, but I understand what Dash.red means because I know Spanish. But for a lot of people, they're just thinking Dash is blue, not red. And so what's Dash red? I don't get it. Well, whatever. And just that simple branding thing might chase away some predominantly English-speaking masternode owners, their operators, that are just looking at this and just, why am I going to fund a strangely used site, whatever. So we'll definitely help Edward relaunch this in any way we can, because this is going to be really great, especially when evolution comes and people might need to start out with some little dust in their wallet to be able to put their usernames and profiles and all that on the blockchain. They might need a little bit of Dash to be able to move all that on chain. So that's going to be very important.
Someone's asking, what does Dash Red stand for then in the live chat?
Red in Spanish means network.
Well, there you go. Every day's a school day.
Yeah.
But I think this is really great, and the proof is in the pudding. So we will, although I love talking about Dash Red, we will move on. But while we're on the subject, the proof is in the pudding. Numbers don't lie, and we can see that in the transaction data. That's why it's so instrumental and such a great onboarding tool. Even Rodrigo from Dash Brazil, he said that's his #1 onboarding tool for bringing people into Dash, introducing them to the system. Now, I've had a request this week from Neptune Dash via Twitter, and I saw Joel liked it as well. So some of you that follow me on Twitter at StayDashy, sometimes I put up videos, and at the end I kind of have this retro 8-bit Space Invaders with a Dash coin shooting out lasers, and it's shooting lasers at bankers. And it's been requested to actually make that into a real game. So Edward, if you're listening, you're the games master. If you can make a Space Invaders with a Dash coin shooting bankers, I think you're onto a winner. That's what I'm going to say.
So let's put mariachi hats on the coins.
Can I suggest something, Edward? Be ready to jump on this domain in case some other hater who's watching does it. What if we did this? What if you also got the domain dash.arcade and you had people play all kinds of like classic arcade style games with a dashy twist?
Yes.
And then you could use that as a faucet. It's just basically the same thing, but like the branding of that. And then imagine, what if you got an app? Because I know, like, all the time I catch my girlfriend scrolling through, like, Candy Crush or Bubble This or just some stupid app game.
No, that arcade games. You could have like Crypto Fighter, but it's like Street Fighter, but with leaders of the crypto world. We could have Evan Duffield, and he could be doing like instant send and all that sort of stuff. Or so like Whack a Banker. You could have like Whack a Fluffy.
So you basically put the crypto person's head over the old street. Don't get so lazy you don't even change the rest of the sprite. Just put their face on top of Street Fighter characters. Like you get Neon E Honda, and then you get like Evan on like Guile, and then you get you get like Tone Vase on I don't know who. And just keep doing like that.
Like Sonic Boom will be like private send, and then Vitalik will be like proof of stake.
That would be hilarious. But think about if you put it into like a mobile app kind of a thing, where people download some stupid game app, and then they just, especially if you're like, enter your Dash address or enter your Evolution username or whatever it is, and then you just kind of bing, 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 and it gamifies the points, and when you get up there, then you start to have people getting addicted to playing these games and actually doing stuff. And especially so I grew up, I was homeschooled growing up, and one tool that sometimes my parents gave me is because my dad was a programmer at Hewlett Packard back in the 80s, and so I kind of grew up from 4 years old on one of those old laptops back when the first laptop I used did not have color. It was like black, white, and beige or something. And they had like Math Rabbit, where you'd have to do a little math equation, and then a little rabbit would do the dance, and you'd win. And so there's ways. I played a lot of games it was gamified learning type things. So gamified learning about Dash, and you pay in Dash. Just say it. I mean, it seems like most of what Edward has already been doing, but I think this could be even taken to the next level. And I don't see why this couldn't be one of the best projects that Dash has in the future.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, you guys are such idea guys. Like you guys just killed it. I love all of those ideas. I mean,
well, that's why we talk. We're here to talk, to give ideas that then the invisible hand of the market magically gets done without any effort whatsoever from us.
That's right. That's right.
But I feel we've got too excited and spoke about like games and everything. So you're the man of the hour. So let's focus on you, because you've been doing some fantastic work on discoverdash.com. I've seen you've been adding so many merchants. I don't even know how many merchants you're up to now. I know you surpassed the 50 number mark, but I think you've even higher than that now, aren't you?
Yeah, so
we've got 96. Yeah, I just haven't had the time to upload them. And actually, Juan, who's my main sales guy, he has added a few more this morning. So yeah,
interesting. Yeah. So you passed 100.
I believe that we are now past 100. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Very nice. We were getting together some press for the different regions, and obviously Venezuela is the number one. Per capita, the number one tends to be New Hampshire, or more specifically Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Colombia is definitely rising up there. How many people does Medellin have?
3.7 million.
It's like close to Caracas, I guess. It's similar. I mean, relatively comparable sizes. So that means you have to get over 700 merchants there to compete. I know you're starting out great. Yeah, you're starting out great. You can catch up, right?
Yeah, we'll be there soon. Maybe even by the end of the year.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's very encouraging to hear. And even more encouraging is that it won't be 700 won't be the goal anymore. By that time, it'll be probably 7,000 in Caracas. So the goalpost keeps moving, but that's one of those things that's one of those contests any of us should be happy to lose, because that means that someone else is doing even better, but we're all on the same team.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, it's all win-win, and I think a little bit of competition, inside of Dash for merchants, I think that's going to be great for everybody. I would be happy to come in 10th or 20th, if other people are doing better than me. In fact, I would hope to learn from them. But place your bets. I think Colombia is going to be number 2 within about 6 months.
I love your ambition. It's a great answer.
So here's a question on that. How much cross-border economic activity is there between Colombia and Venezuela? Is it something where a lot of this business adoption can have an effect on both countries, or is it kind of like a walled off economy?
No, the exchange between the two countries is huge. People in both countries consider the other country, like a brother or sister country. There have been different crises over the last 50 years where a huge number of Colombians had to leave and go to Venezuela, and now a huge number of Venezuelans are leaving and come over here. So it's almost like an arbitrage situation where the people, if one government's screwing up, well, we'll just go to this other government.
It's almost like a Benny Hill sketch. They go here and then they go back there and back and forth.
Yeah, these days, unfortunately, most of the trade is in food items, flour, basics, the very basics. And most of the time, it's Venezuelans coming over to Colombia to spend, or coming over temporarily, or they're coming over on a more permanent basis to work here and then remit money home. And so we've been working with Venezuelans to build up a remittance practice here. And we've had some success. In general, it has been quite a challenge because the Venezuelans, their phones are not in good shape. They're tired. Most of the people we encounter, they may not have a stable place to sleep every night. They may not be eating 3 meals. But we have had some success, and in fact, we did, in partnership with Dash Maracay recently, we sent a remittance from here to Venezuela, and we saved the user 13.4% over the market rate using Dash.
Wow.
And the end user got their money in bolivares, so it was quite encouraging.
Yeah,
And
next step
we're
is to
working
convince them
on
to
expanding.
not keep it in Bolivar.
Yeah, I had some people who contacted me, and they wanted a guaranteed amount of US dollars to arrive in Venezuela. And I'm not quite there yet, so I wasn't able to help them, but we're working towards something like that. And of course, with every person I say, you'll receive Dash there in a question of 1 to 2 seconds. And then we have over 900 merchants where you can spend it. And they're like, well, I don't know where that is. Well, I'll show you, and then, well, can I change it into bolivares? Well, of course, yeah, there are dozens of places to do it, dozens of options. And so
how is Colombia doing economically right now? For our viewers on the other side of the world, what are the similarities with Venezuela and what are the differences?
I would say it's day and night. Venezuela is in very bad shape, not just with the hyperinflation, but with this new devaluation where they are forcing the minimum wage to rise, but they're arresting people who raise their prices. Whereas Venezuela has turned left, Colombia has turned sharply right. And so, although there are all the standard, things that you see in Latin America, the obstacles to formalization, onerous taxation, real pain in the butt to register businesses, they're expanding the income tax system to charge more people. Despite all of that, the economy is very strong here. And in fact, it's been quite interesting to see the economy absorb all of these Venezuelans who've come over. Some estimates are as high as 2 million Venezuelans are in Colombia. And whereas in the border city of Cucuta, that's right next to Venezuela, there are people sleeping in parks, crowding into buildings. Here in Medellin, we don't have that. We have a very strong economy. We always have, because Medellin is an entrepreneurial center. And there are jokes in Colombian culture about how, you could put a person from Medellin in the Sahara Desert and they'll figure out a way to, profit from selling sand. So,
Nice.
yeah, so the economy is very strong here. Absolutely.
Well, does that present extra challenges for you then? Because your main gig at the moment is onboarding new merchants, which you're doing a fantastic job, and you're doing it at a much faster rate than I thought you was initially going to do. So if the economic situation there is fairly stable, then does that present challenges on onboarding merchants? Because if there's a direct need in Venezuela, surely the kind of sales pitch angle is much easier for them as it is for you? Or what's your experience been?
My experience is that it's, I don't have any experience in Venezuela, of course, but my experience here is that, yes, it can be quite challenging. I can go through easily 10, 20, 30 different stores without finding someone who actually wants to hear the pitch or install the app. Absolutely. But the thing is, we are finding those people, and we are finding people who have the vision for Dash, who as soon as they understand, they're like, oh, this is great. And we have one very important benefit here, which is, in Venezuela, there's a lot of instability, right? And the idea is that Dash is going to do great in any hyperinflation situation. That's a thesis. That's an assertion. I slightly disagree with that. I think that stability is a little bit better, because the Venezuelans that I've worked with here, I initially thought they were going to be our best leads for everything. I thought they were going to love us. But the thing is, they're engaged in a desperate flight to safety. And they don't have really the time or the energy to experiment with new things. But when we come to a merchant who has an open mind, and we make an effective pitch, and he is comfortable, he's got his bills paid, he's not super busy at the moment with customers, he will listen, and because he has the luxury of being open to new things. And so I think, it could be that hyperinflation is a great advantage for Dash in Venezuela. But I think here we also have the fact that the government taxes people heavily, it puts lots of roadblocks in the way of business, and we have stability. So we have a space in which to develop this.
So how's your project at the moment? Where are you currently at? Are you okay for funding? What's your current situation? What are you doing right now? And what do you want to be doing in the next month?
Well, let's see. We were approved late May for 22 Dash for 3 months. Between me putting in the proposal and it passing, the purchasing power dropped by half, and then it dropped again last month. Of course, great time to buy. That's what I tell the merchants. This is the best time to start accepting Dash because the price is low. But I do suspect I really haven't had time to properly review all my financials. I do suspect we have overspent, and I have a proposal in front of the DAO right now that is being received favorably. I think that if things continue this way, we should have funding 59 Dash for 6 months. And with that, I am going to be able to hire 2 additional salesmen. So we will be 4 salesmen in total. I'll be able to hire a video presenter, a young lady who's quite capable, bilingual, Spanish, English, or actually trilingual. She also speaks Italian. And I'm going to be able to do more of these events where we go to our new merchants and we bring them new customers who pay in Dash. We distribute between $3 and $7 of Dash to each person. They spend it right then and there. And we are a little bit behind on producing educational videos. I've got a plan in motion to produce like 50 or 60 60-second educational videos about Dash and distribute them via WhatsApp and email, Instagram, so that we can bring everybody, because in a lot of parts of the world, people pursue the meetup educational strategy where we sit and we listen to a talk for 45 minutes. But the fact is, people here don't really have time for that. And so what we do is we have an initial productive contact, and then we start sending them short videos or other things that bring them up to speed in bite-sized media that's easy to consume over time, without it having to be, presential meeting. So we're doing well, but we need additional funding in order to continue supporting, all of our merchants, because they are looking to us, because there are cryptos that are active here that aren't really cryptos. They're pyramid schemes. And so sometimes we run into people who say, "Hey, is Dash a pyramid scheme? Have you just gotten started? Can I get
So what you're saying is Tone Vase lives in Medellin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, so you've got a proposal up for voting now. So sell it to me, right? Win my vote. What are you going to offer in terms of deliverables that I should vote yes on your proposal? What can you say? I mean, do you have a plan to bring on a certain number of new merchants? Win me over.
So what the DAO gets for its 59 Dash per month for 6 months is 450 total new merchants minimum in Colombia. We're going to do 6 Dash fairs, and Dash fairs are where we have a concentration of merchants in a certain neighborhood. In one we have almost 20, in another we have about 7 now. And we give Dash away, and we give people a map, and we say, go spend it at these merchants. And we offer incentives for them to spend it at the greatest number of merchants, produce videos, things like that. We're going to produce at least 25 new educational videos in Spanish that will be able to be used across Latin America for new projects that start up as well. And we are also working on remittances. I would like to be able to address the remittance market a little bit. It's going to require a bit of a dedicated team because the Venezuelans need a bit of handholding. But the number one thing that we do is we get merchants. And we don't just get merchants, we get a lot of merchants. We don't just get a lot of merchants and say, hey, have a nice day. No, we visit them again and again. We give them tools to help them accept Dash easily. We give them point of sale displays with their QR code. People can easily scan and pay. And if this proposal goes through, we're going to start a pilot program using AnyPay with cheap cell phones. So it'll be a point of sale, an inexpensive point of sale system where people can just walk in, they can use AnyPay, make their payment, it's immediately confirmed, and it's secure because the employee won't be able to spend the funds, which is an issue here. And we generate transactions. We generate legitimate, real transactions. Because with every transaction, there's a person behind it that we sat down for 5 or 7 minutes, one-on-one or in a small group, and we said, hey, this is what Dash is. It's digital money. You know, you can use it easily to buy a coffee here in the corner at, you know, this X coffee shop, or you can buy merchandise from China, or you can send money to Venezuela. It's all the same. It all has a transaction fee of 5 Colombian pesos, and it arrives instantly. And we say, you know, here's your wallet, install the wallet. Here's how the PIN works. You know, make sure to write it down. Here's how the recovery phrase works. Here's how you send. Here's how you receive. And so these are users who are empowered from moment one to understand Dash, the principles behind Dash, how it works. And then we continue. Before we give them that Dash, we get their contact information. So it's not just, hey, here's Dash, see you later, bye, have a nice day. No, it's, hey, we're contacting you on WhatsApp. You know, here's the latest on Dash. Or, you know, hey, here's an email. How you doing? This week we're having this event. Last night we had a really great event. We had 30 people show up for a meetup in cooperation with our Dash merchant, a Dash merchant. And that's the thing. We don't just, so a lot of projects, what they do is they'll have a meetup, maybe at a university, and they'll give out Dash, and they'll say, go do your thing with Dash, and people will be like, where can I spend it? But we hold our events right at the merchant. So we bring together merchant, consumer, right in their own neighborhood. We don't pull anybody out. We don't say you have to go to the city center. No, we go to them. We have gone into some rough neighborhoods, let me tell you. And we connect those users and that merchant right there. So we are weaving Dash into existing commercial relationships in several different neighborhoods in Medellin, building a concentration of Dash merchants. And there are even transactions that are happening when we're not there. I come back every week or 15 days to check on a merchant, and he says, oh, hey, I did some transactions while you're out. And I look at his wallet, and there it is. And things are really starting to take off here.
Yeah, what's the how do people get Dash? Like, say you give them some, they go to a meetup, they go spend it at the merchant, they think this is great, and then they go away. And then they're like, oh, I want to spend Dash on lunch today, but I don't have any. How do they get it? What's the easiest way for people in Colombia to get their hands on more Dash?
Well, there's an exchange in a convenient part of town, but really most people are not going to travel out of their way to go there and buy Dash. With our limited budget so far, I haven't really been able to offer it for sale in a practical way. With this new proposal, we are right now working on a way to make it so that all of our Dash merchants, or those who want to, are going to become not just Dash merchants, they're going to become points of sale for Dash itself. And so Dash is going to become a new product that they're selling. And you know, you can go, you can buy it, and hopefully we're going to be able to incentivize it a little bit. So maybe you buy, maybe you give $7, and maybe you get $7.25 in Dash as a limited time promotion. We're still studying that. But right now, there is no good way to really get it into people's hands. Because, I mean, I could walk around and do it person to person, but it presents, you know, a risk to my safety. Because if I get known as a person who's carrying large amounts of cash, it's I'm not prepared to take that kind of risk.
Yeah,
but,
are you? Is Uphold working in Colombia?
I believe it is. Yes. The thing is, see, those of us who are experienced with crypto in the first world, we're used to this idea of like connecting our bank account to an exchange and all that stuff that we do, right? Here, I talk about doing that, and people's eyes glaze over. See, that there's a cultural gap here and also a technological gap, and your average business owner his only computing device may be a cell phone. And I've targeted them first and foremost because they are underbanked. They don't like to use banks. Why? Because any money that enters into their bank account, the government takes notice and assumes it's income and wants to tax it. And in fact, some taxes are taken directly out of people's bank accounts without their input or consent. So we're not at the stage yet where we have people linking their bank accounts to something like BitInca or Buddha, which operate in this region. We're not quite there yet.
You know what you should do?
Yeah.
You should speak to some exchanges. Just think about BitNovo, like, because people go to phone corner shops to buy top-up phone credit vouchers. You can get BitNovo, like the cards, and they can go to shops. And I know in Brazil they have a solution. I think it's CoinBR kind of off it there, but BitNovo is in Spain. But I'm sure you can speak to Crypto Buyer, identify the use case and need in Colombia, and then they can kind of brainstorm, perhaps with yourself together, and say like, hey, if we can actually kind of get these kind of gift cards and issue them to shops all around Colombia, people can just top it up easily. Now, if you can find a way to integrate that, because I think typically with BitNovo cards, it gives you a code and then you have to go onto the online website to redeem it. So you would have to kind of look into the tech side of it in terms of the mobile text to figure that out. But that could be a really easy angle where you don't have to look for money licenses or worry about bureaucracy or red tape, because it's literally the exchange presenting a code for that, right? So that should help you. I mean, it's just an idea.
Cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Is there any specific restrictions behind ATMs?
No, not at this time. In Colombia, there is no crypto-specific regulation, and the government has been moving very slowly, and there's some conflicts there. So, whatever's not permitted whatever's not prohibited is de facto legal. So we really have an open field at this time. The day before yesterday, I was speaking with an ATM company that actually has its headquarters here. And so we're looking at maybe doing something with them. At the same time, the one concern I have is the commission that all of these folks charge, right? So like if let's say Dash builds this great network of merchants, right, in Colombia. So there are a lot of commercial opportunities around that. So when I look at the proposal of like an ATM company or a POS hardware company who wants to get into my network, get into our network, Dash's network here, I think, okay, that's interesting, but like, why? Like, we have this great asset. Why am I just going to hand it off to somebody else? Like, why am I just going to hand off control or access or my recommendation? Because they're going to profit from that. And nothing wrong with profit, of course, but I want to make sure it's fair for my merchants and that I can recommend it. Because if, for example, right now there's an exchange in the city that attends in an office, and they will buy people's Dash, but they'll buy it with a 12% commission. So I can't recommend that to anybody. I can't go to my merchant and say, well, you received 300,000 pesos in Dash. Go take it there, and they'll give you, 260 something, right? That's not going to fly. It's not going to fly.
So what you need to do is start an exchange that only does 6% commission, and then someone else can start one that only does 3%, and then competition kind of increases that.
Sounds like
I noticed
a free market.
Yeah, I noticed that with Wall of Coins. I used to use Wall of Coins all the time for peer-to-peer buying and selling of crypto, and there used to be like a 6% commission on that. Not commission, but there used to be like a 6% upcharge over market rates because people valued privacy and convenience. They valued being able to just walk into any bank, deposit some cash, and then get Dash in their wallet like within a few minutes of it, rather than maybe the exchange delays or having to give over their financial info. And I'm sure that kind of premium gets smaller and smaller the more people are trying to compete.
Yeah, I definitely want to bring more competition here, and I'm considering possibilities for what my organization can do here. But I definitely want to be careful not to just, hand over all of Dash's hard work to some third party who's going to take advantage, of it in a way that harms our merchants. So
earlier on, you mentioned that you're using the AnyPay POS solution, and as a master owner myself, I'm kind of interested to learn about your experiences and what your thoughts are of that system, as that's a Dash funded project as well. As we already know, in Venezuela, although they've been doing a phenomenal job, they're actually onboarding merchants using a different POS solution. So what's your experience been of AnyPay? And, good, bad? Has it been a pleasant experience? Are you happy with AnyPay?
So far, I've been thrilled with AnyPay. I love it because now, as of about 3 weeks ago, it supports Spanish and Colombian pesos. And it runs in a web browser. It is fast. It is so simple to configure. Now, I haven't done any real pilot testing yet with our merchant base here, but I'm looking forward to doing that. As soon as our proposal goes through, I'll buy some cheap devices, and I'll loan them out to a couple of our best merchants, and we'll see what their experiences are. But so far, I have to say, AnyPay is, I only have good things to say about it so far.
Yes, it works very well. I mean, obviously, it's what we use around here. It still seems a little bit rough around the edges in some ways. It does allow you to price in different currencies now. What they don't yet have implemented is a different currency sign for it. So does the peso have the same dollar sign as like a dollar?
Yes.
So there's no
right.
problem for you. It works great for you. The problem is and the same for the Canadians too. They have their own fake version of the dollar and stuff. So, but the problem is you get to like euros and pounds. It's a completely different symbol and would confuse people. Also, I noticed that in Venezuela there's a challenge with the exchange rate, because when the official government exchange rate is way off. And so what people tend to find, what I believe the Venezuelan merchants are doing, is they're taking the local Bitcoin to Bolivar exchange rate, and then they're doing that to the Dash exchange rate. And then that makes a more realistic market price for the Bolivar, rather than just do this straight up Dash to Bolivar conversion off of some other site. So it's a lot of different challenges to put that whole thing together. I hope AnyPay manages to come out with a smooth, streamlined native app soon. Sometimes it works well, but I've noticed in cases where the internet connection isn't the best, sometimes it can run into some problems, since it's basically like loading up a browser window and it's not just a native kind of app. And it would be great to also be able to do. Have you ever used the Dash Wallet's Bluetooth functionality, where you can transmit directly to the recipient?
Yes. I've seen that come up a few times in meetups. I tried that once. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice to be able to do that with AnyPay as well. But again, I believe that the people in charge of that took a vacation for a good chunk of this month, but now they're back. So I hope to see very good things.
Awesome. Yeah, the thing is, up till AnyPay became available in Spanish and pesos, we were limited just to using the owner's cell phone wallet to verify the payments had arrived. That's the level we're working at. So now AnyPay gives us an option beyond that, and I think it's going to be really interesting when we pilot it.
I was very encouraged by what you were saying earlier about onboarding businesses and just not leaving it at that, because we need to encourage everyday purchases. So there's the education side as well. Now, one thing both myself and Joel have been encountering this week is that we've been talking to publications and media, because the number of merchants on Discover Dash, because of the rapid adoption and growth, is that they're like, wow, it's really amazing to see all these merchants, but we need to verify that all these transactions and stuff are going through. So now that we know you're using AnyPay, we can speak to AnyPay about transactions and stuff. But that's the point that I really wanted to make. It's important that once these merchants are onboarded, that we encourage actual users to actually use them and keep that going, to keep that ecosystem. So it's not here today, gone tomorrow. Joel, do you have any thoughts on that? Why, Joel, you expressed that. I'm going to invite our next guests on. So George, when they join,
that was a very long question. Can you
Yeah.
repeat it in like just a few words so I make sure I know it?
I can say something to that point.
Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
sure.
Yeah, what we're doing with basically, we come to our merchants presenting Dash as not just digital cash, but also a solution to help them grow their businesses. And so when I go there, I create media. I take photographs, I make videos, I promote the store. And what we're going to be doing as we're able to add more manpower to the project is we are going to create content marketing, social media and email marketing and WhatsApp marketing campaigns around all these different merchants, because now we have a database of hundreds of people who have Dash or have had a Dash experience. And we're going to say, hey, this week at this moto repair shop, go and get your oil changed, pay with Dash, get 5% off, And so we're going to be doing all kinds of things like that in order to draw greater attention to all of our different merchants and generate those transactions.
Danny from the Crypto Show says in the live chat, "Where can I buy tacos? That's all that matters."
We don't eat tacos here. We eat arepas. This is Colombia.
Yes, of course. Sorry,
We've been told now.
Has the Mexicano kind of perspective. It's all right.
Yeah.
I like arepas too.
Yeah, good arepa with cheese. Yeah, delicious.
Yeah, it's just really important that we keep that repeat traffic keep coming, because now the media is all attention. I'm getting messages on Twitter and DMs. They're asking questions. They're impressed by the level of merchants, but we need to keep that sustained everyday purchases keep going. And you're doing a phenomenal job. And I hope you keep onboarding merchants. But yeah, transactions do matter.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, we're trying to really build something here. It's an integral proposal, the Dash Colombia one, and we touch base with our merchants at least once every 2 weeks right now, and I hope to continue to be able to do that, and hopefully at least every 10 days or so, and generate new events, promote them, bring them new customers, paying with Dash, all that.
Excellent. Well, we're having some new guests join us now from Dash Nexus. Yuri has already joined us. George, please stay around, because we're going to be talking about Dash governance and Dash Nexus, and I'm sure you've probably got some questions and exciting things to learn as well. So we're actually expecting Chuck Williams to join as well, and Jeff as well from the Dash Nexus project. But Yuri, you're on mute at the moment. But how's it going, Yuri? Welcome to the podcast.
Hey everyone, doing great. Thanks for enlightening us a little bit about what's going on in Colombia. It's great to hear. Great news.
Yeah, well, I think you got some news yourself. I don't know if you could go into too much details, but a little dicky bird told me that you had a meeting with the CTO Bob yesterday. So can you spill any goodies, or is it all top secret?
Some of it's top secret, but honestly, it was a great meeting. Bob's a fantastic guy. We talked a little bit about strategy and alignment in terms of what Core thinks about governance and where things are going, and what are some of the things that they're developing that we could implement in Nexus a little bit down the line. Bob is still very much, he's in the second month. He set aside the 3 months to get fully onboarded and up to speed. So I think he's still very much consumed with that. But we had a very good chat, and I think we'll be in touch consistently from here on out, which will ensure that the Nexus project is strongly aligned with Core in terms of timelines, milestones, goals, objectives, and all that.
Well, awesome. Now it looks like we have more people. Are we sure that we're not in the after party already? Because there's like a ton of people in here right now.
So, okay. What is Dash Nexus's relationship?
Well, let's say hi to the rest of the people first, right? Hi, Jeff.
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast, Jeff, Yuri, and Chuck. Chuck Williams, very familiar face. Everyone knows who Chuck is. Actually, we should probably explain
apparently
first.
Chuck doesn't know that there's a new Dash logo right now, because he put on an old sticker on that microphone, and it's not accurate anymore. I don't know. I think
I'll put another one on it when I get a new set made.
Hey,
Okay.
Joel, how about that?
What was that? I'm sorry.
How about that poster?
Which one?
Just to your right a little bit.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this
You need an update.
is the Dash Genesis block though. So
Oh, okay. So it's
you
legit.
can't quite. I mean, all you have to do is you just squint, and then the D is a little bit more rounded. If you just squint the right way. Well, no one's giving me crap about this Bitcoin halvening thing back there. Look at. Uh oh. Chuck is starting a revolution. Are you gonna put?
I still have this
Are you gonna
guy.
put revert to the old logo to a vote?
I will not pay 5 Dash for that.
I'm sure someone will. I've seen more useless proposals even this cycle.
Yeah, agreed.
So, guys, we have some comments already in the live chat saying, "Oh, it's so good to see Chuck." So I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the Dash Nexus project already, but they may not be familiar that Chuck Williams is now involved in the Dash Nexus project. So would anyone like to explain how Chuck is involved with Dash Nexus? And then we can go deeper into what Nexus provides.
Chuck, how about you?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah, the Jeff and Yuri, I've been talking with them since actually the late 2017 about the Dash Nexus project while I was still very much involved with Dash Core. And, I loved the project back then, and it was something that I wished that we were doing inside of Dash Core. And secretly, they were doing all the UX things that I was trying to make happen inside of Core. But when I was no longer continuing with Core, they said, "Hey, why don't you come help us out? Give us some view on what we're doing here, maintain a connection with the community, that sort of thing." It seemed like a great fit. It made perfect sense to me because I love the Dash community. I've always wanted to serve the Masternode network, and working with Jeff and Yuri has been a great pleasure. I'm very impressed with how the project is going, and I'm just glad to be involved in it still and serving the Masternode community in the ways that I thought I would as a UX developer inside of Dash Core.
So I remember with Nexus in the very beginning when this initially submitted, the proposal didn't quite do so well, even in the days of plenty, because of the price tag was a little bit high. And I remember back then thinking, this is definitely something that has it's like a high price tag type thing, but I've just seen so many disasters in the governance process just because of how rough it is, just because of how just simple it is. And big shout out to our old longtime buddy Rango, who is fought in the who provided Dash Central, the current let's be honest, de facto voting gateway for everyone, for years and years for free for some random donations. And it stood the test of time, being a very basic yet effective kind of platform. And we wouldn't have gone this far without him. So thank you to Rango. And from what I seem to hear from both him and Eric Salmons, who does Dash Vote Tracker, which is another thing that
Eric.
What was that?
I was going to say, don't forget Eric Salmons. Yeah. I wanted to throw thanks to him.
And I didn't always know about dashvotetracker.com, but once I did, I was just looking at it all the time, and I got really sad when some of the links started to become broken this last month because some of the APIs weren't grabbing the same things and all that kind of stuff. But it appears that both Eric and Rango are more than happy to offload the burden of sustaining a lot of this whole governance process, the whole treasury thing, to something that's well oiled and well designed for that. So I knew for a long time that this is going to be integral to Dash growing to the next stage. And let me just throw in a last little thing. I don't think that it's as necessary this month, for example, because of how tight the budget is. The proposals, there's not as many proposals coming through. But if there isn't something sturdy and in place by the time you get multi-million-dollar treasury and everyone starts submitting proposals, you don't have something in there, you're gonna have a bad time.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you got to plan ahead for times of plenty.
Yeah, and Joel, if I could add to that, absolutely, I second your thanks to Rango and Eric Salmons, and we haven't said much about this to the community, but we're working very closely with both of them on the Nexus project as well, and taking in their feedback and discussing how the transition from one platform may go to the other, and all those things. So they're still very much involved, and will continue to be. So their legacy shall not be forgotten.
Well, I was very grateful for doing the 2-hour technical deep dive, look into the work in progress that you've done. But there was one question that I didn't ask. I already outed myself in that video saying that I voted for you. But one thing that's really important for me to know that I didn't ask was that it's great to learn that you're working with Rango and Eric, but also as well, it's important for me to know that are you communicating with the Dash Core team and also as well Dash Watch as well, because this solution really impacts everyone, and it is Dash essentially. It's the governance, it's the funding, it's, as I say, it really is the epicenter of what Dash is. So it's really important for me to know that you're in communication with all the key players.
Absolutely. So from our discussion with Bob yesterday, at this stage in time, because Core's resources are also limited, they're very, very focused on delivering evolution. And we think that is absolutely the right place to focus the attention. That is what's going to drive the value and create the platform for Dash to expand far beyond the use cases that it currently has. However, as such, they have very limited resources that they can allocate towards governance itself. So governance ends up becoming very much community driven. And to that extent, our team, Rango, Eric Sammons, and Dashwatch have all been in very close contact and working together to implement this. We mentioned, I actually don't know if we mentioned this on the 2-hour call because we had so many other stuff to feature, but on the proposal detail view, there's going to be a special reports tab, which is essentially going to belong to the Dashwatch team. So when viewing a proposal that's in progress, you'll actually be able to see the Dashwatch report on that proposal.
Nice.
Hey, I want to get, hi guys, George Donnelly, Dash Colombia. I'm gonna, as a proposal owner, just wondering, so I know you guys, of course, are probably gearing Nexus towards, serving masternode owners better, which is awesome, of course. But so how is Nexus going to help proposal owners?
So I can do that. We actually, put a lot of thought into, how we can address, the two target markets here. We're looking at MNOs. They're one type of, user persona, as well as, proposal owners. You want to build something that provides value for both parties here. And as, MNOs and proposal owners ourselves, we've spent a lot of time putting proposals up, and we know, what are, the pain points here. And so we took a lot of time and thought about, the proposal creation process from start to finish and how we could improve that. Yuri, you want to take this? I'm going to close my door. It's pretty loud.
Yeah, absolutely. George, I'm sure you're busy, but if you do get a chance, do check out the video that Mark uploaded a couple days ago. We go into quite a bit of detail there, showcasing exactly what it is we offer to proposal owners. But in short, we're changing the entire proposal creation process, all the way from the pre-proposal stage, which we're renaming into concepts, through the proposal voting stage and beyond when the proposal is already live and being reported on by the team. So we have a special subset of Dash Nexus, which is called the proposal creator, which takes the proposal owner on a step-by-step guide of creating their proposal, from setting up the basic information like the title, the URL slug, giving it a category, whether it's a marketing or an integration proposal, to having a much nicer text editor. So it is a true WYSIWYG versus trying to play around with BB code and guess how it's going to look on the outcome, to having a dedicated budget section where you could add line items and break it down, making it standardized across different proposals, which makes it both easier for proposal owners and master node owners to evaluate and compare. Of course, we have an option to attach any additional files or Excel files in case there's a proposal that or a budget that doesn't quite fit easily into the form that we set up. Etc. So ultimately, we hope that this will allow for proposal owners to create much more compelling proposals that really shine.
If there's one thing I could add on to that, real quickly, we're also in communication with Dashwatch, and Dashwatch has a wealth of knowledge that they have gleaned from doing these reports on previous proposal owners or with previous proposal owners, and has learned a lot about, you know, perhaps some failures that have been discovered or some issues that happened that we Dash Nexus will be trying to work back into the front end of the flow to assist proposal owners more directly in creating proposals that will A, be more likely to be successful, and B, provide more information in a structured way so that proposal owners aren't floundering as much.
Awesome. Sounds great.
So let me discuss a couple of the pain points I've noticed in the governance process from my own personal perspective. And obviously some of these might seem like, oh, just fix it with magic. Like some of them might seem a little bit difficult to get done, but there might be a workaround for a couple. So first off, moderation. I have for example, the Dash forums, the Reddit, and the Dash Nation Discord tend to be a pretty productive, friendly place because of strict moderation rules. And one of the problems with Dash Central has been, in the past, there have been anyone could get an account, anyone could just go troll and say all kinds of mean, terrible things, and all comments were permanent. And then what happened is Rango limited that to Masternode only / either proposal owners or certain special people that were kind of given access to comment. And then very recently, he started to deny service to certain Masternode owners or moderate a couple of comments. And for example, this one Masternode owner was just a complete, crazy troll person, despite having a Masternode, which I don't think those two things need to be mutually exclusive, even though I wish they were. And then Rango just literally said, I can't take it anymore. This is a platform I work hard for free to the community to have. No way can I take away your master or anything, but I'm just booting you off the platform. Go vote, go comment other forums, and go vote manually. Bye. And which is a little bit of a, it was a little bit of a shock in moderation. And then there was another one who was comment spamming all kinds of proposals, like not just like a comment, but like a series of repeated aggressive questioning comments over and over and over. And then those were deleted because they were just overwhelming the proposal. And so anyway, there hasn't been any moderation. That's been a weak spot of this whole thing. What's going on with moderation or ways of keeping the discourse focused in Dash Nexus, or is there going to be completely the opposite?
I can take this one.
Yeah.
So, I've shared this a couple times, but my goal is to, ultimately, without having moderators as individuals, allowing the community to self-moderate by providing tools and mechanisms by which, through consensus, we can agree that this bad actor is being a bad actor. For example, we don't want to do upvotes and downvotes because that leads to brigades where, you get like 15 of your friends to all agree, well, we're going to downvote this, comment because we don't like what they're saying. I don't like that. I think, the better approach is, we have upvotes for things you agree with. And if somebody's being, a really nasty person, we give you the option to report that comment. If a comment gets reported enough times relative to the number of people engaged on a specific proposal, it then gets hidden. I think it's good that comments are hidden but not deleted, in that, if you really want to see what that person said, despite the community agreeing that it's not constructive, you can still look at it. I don't think it's good to really delete things. And this is a model that will probably evolve over time as we see how well it works. But I think it's a good start.
Yeah, so what's the difference between reporting and downvoting?
Phrasing.
What I would suggest is actually on the 2-hour video, there's a specific section where you can actually see the upvote, downvote kind of Reddit style. And we go into a bit more detail. As it is a 2-hour video, fortunately, I did painstakingly go through and do like the timestamps. But Joel, what I was going to say, one really interesting thing, if you've not watched that video, and I think you'll be interested to know, Joel, is that in the comment section, it's no longer going to be restricted to just Masternode owners. There's two different sections. There's a community section, and then there's a Masternode owner section. And I really encourage people to go watch that video so you can see it visually. Once you see it visually, you just get it. So
right, there's two separate contexts there. One context that basically is everybody's comments, and then another context where it's MNOs and proposal owners. If you've identified yourself to the Dash Nexus system.
So this is obviously systems and rules are always created so you have some kind of order, and they're always a little bit arbitrary and rigid because that's just what rules are. And so it's always, my mind is always kind of thinking like 5 steps ahead of like, as soon as I see a rule, I'm like, how do I game it and break it and cheat it? Not because I want to specifically do that, but I'm just saying, like, I wonder how that could be approached. And so,
I'm not saying this is, the perfect approach. We're going to try it. We're going to see how well it works. And if it, somebody decides they found a really good way to manipulate it, we'll make changes.
Yeah. I think it's, if you want to explore that particular thing, like at length, maybe we should go into it. I mean,
so
I'd love to.
I wouldn't
about that
explore it too much in length right here because obviously we got a lot of stuff to cover still. But one thing that I just off the top of my head might think, one thing that I noticed in all my years fighting the troll wars on Twitter and Reddit and all this kind of stuff is troll brigades tend to be like a half dozen or a dozen people over and over again that are creating an illusion of a greater thing behind them. And so, for example, when you think of either rating a post highly or trying to hide it, it tends to be like the same group of people over and over. It might be an interesting way of doing it to where you could find a way to value reports of trolling or whatever or on comments differently based on the spread of users doing it. If it's the same 12 people just bombing over and over, then that's not as
you want to think about, as well as looking into some heuristic algorithms potentially down the road. We don't have the resources to take a Reddit-sized development team and throw them at policing comment moderation, but I think there are steps we can take to try and mitigate that, as well as just being proactive as we ramp up usage.
Well, and I want to add to that one of the principles that we're working under is that it is open. Whatever we do, if we do add in a scoring heuristics or some kind of ranking mechanisms, whatever we do, we intend for it to be kind of open and so that everybody sees what's going on.
Yes.
One thing I think be in particular interest to George, as he's a proposal owner, is that one unique feature within Dash Nexus is that they identified the issue with pre-proposals. More often than not, pre-proposals get submitted to the Dash forums and they don't get much traction, not much comments to help shape them. And with Dash Nexus, it's not just submitting proposals, you can actually submit your idea there, and they've given it so much thought that it has its own track. It's not called pre-proposals now as well. You've named it something else, but that's got its own.
Right.
So we're going to be able, our MNOs will be able to vote on the concepts, and it'll be right there in a similar place as the proposals.
Yes. Which brings me to the second point of the 3 pain points. The second point is polling. How do we know what masternodes want other than, are you going to throw money at this direction? Because I mean, obviously, does your proposal succeed? Yes or no? Like that's one definitive vote. Other than that, you just have to sort of spray and pray and just hope that people kind of like what you're taught. Hope that, I think that's a great idea verbally from like 4 people represents what masternodes actually want. And then just pray that the votes follow, but it's not always there. So will there be a way to easily do polls in for example, if you say, what do you think of the price point? Is it too high? Yes or no? One thing that I remember is back in December, when Ben Swan submitted what I believe was one of the largest proposals yet at that time. One thing is he wanted to have Dash occupy 2 of 4 sponsor slots on Reality Check, on Truth and Media. And a couple master owners said, why not all 4? Go big or go home. And then the very next proposal cycle, people were complaining about how much it cost. And so he went on the advice of of a few random masternode owners, thinking that that's what the network wanted. Maybe they didn't want him to go big or go home as much. So would there be a way of saying, what do you think? Should we do this scale or this scale? Or what do you think? Should we this and that, and then get an actual judgment before you actually move forward on the proposal? Is there going to be a polling thing?
I could take that. There's actually a whole bunch of features that we're introducing for that. Explicit polling is one, so you'll be able to ask questions and receive polling answers from masternode owners specifically on those questions, and not just should this be funded or not, but should we tackle these two countries at the same time, or should we target this, or whatever it may be for your proposal. Second, there's going to be basically an upvote system where it's not a vote that happens on the blockchain, but we're still able to use the masternode signatures to say, yes, I endorse this. So the highest endorsed concepts will naturally raise to the top and get more attention. And thirdly, and this is a much more long-term feature that we're considering, is actually allowing for proposal fee donation box. So if a masternode owner feels strongly about a concept, that concept should go through, perhaps they could donate towards the 5- proposal fee. And this is still very conceptual. We haven't laid out how specifically it'll work. There's some stuff in terms of wallets and contracts on platform that we still need to address with it. Potentially that donation could be refunded should the proposal pass or should the proposal never be created. But it could be a good indicator for a proposal owner whether, yes, I should proceed with this, and also expand the pool of proposal owners to those who may not be able to afford a 5- fee from the get-go, but may have a brilliant idea for how to integrate the Dash network.
That's a great idea, because I'm in touch with a lot of people in Latin America who, when they find out about the 5- proposal fee, are intimidated. And they're even more intimidated when they see how competitive the treasury is. So I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Now here is the third pain point, is negotiability, if that's even a word. Is a lot of times, Chuck's laughing at me, go screw yourself, Chuck. Anyway, so here's what happens. You submit a proposal, everyone says, oh, this is great, but the price is too much. Or this is great, but we wish you would do half as much, and then you lower the price accordingly. The problem is you're locked in with that ask when the 5- hits there. And it's not quite like and the other problem is you submit a pre-proposal, where you can actually start negotiating things like that. And no one really pays attention to that because ideas are like a dime a dozen. And no one takes it seriously. I mean, I'm speaking very broadly, right? I'm not no one, but in my experience, not a lot of people take a proposal seriously until they've paid the 5- and it hits the network. And unfortunately, at that point, it's also too late to negotiate. And of course, if there's 100 concepts out there and only 30 proposals ever make it out of that, that's a lot of concepts to review and negotiate in detail with. And then once 30 get to proposals, maybe 15 of those have to be resubmitted and burn another 5- or just aren't going to pass because of some small detail. Is there any way, obviously there's some limitations to the way Dash works today, but is there any way to give that experience a little, to make it different? For example, say you have to submit a 5- fee once it becomes a proposal, but it doesn't actually get submitted to the Dash network until it kind of holds on to the fee until a certain point when it all becomes final, and then it's locked in. Is there any way to make it easier to actually negotiate proposals?
I think that's a people problem, Joel, and we can do everything we can to address it. And we have a number of different mechanisms by which we think we can improve that. We're doing everything we can with the concept phase to get more people engaged there. Again, this is a hope and a hypothesis. We'll see how it works when people are actually using it. Beyond that, there are some theoretical protocol changes that could be made around revisions to proposals.
I was going to bring up revisions.
I'm a little iffy on it just because it kind of opens Pandora's box. And there's been ideas about, maybe somebody could add a revision to their G object that reduces the ask but not increases it. There are still some potential pitfalls to be overcome there, though. And that's one thing that could be done, Joel. I'd say that's, the last possible thing we try if nothing else works. Because, again, like I said, it does open Pandora's box. Beyond
but
that,
it may not be as relevant, that need for negotiation, if the other environmental aspects work, and the commenting works, the pre-suggested budgeting system works, and we're taking in the inflows from what Dash Watch has learned and will probably continue to learn. A lot of the need for negotiation will probably be greatly reduced because the proposals themselves will be very much better structured, so that the bar is being raised for all simultaneously. But
yeah,
and then so you'll still have the environment for negotiation. And I agree with Jeff there that it probably should start as a social kind of aspect, and then once we've kind of backed out, okay, here are the rules that seem to be organically emerging from this environment, then we could probably codify them into something using things like revisions or paying for proposal fees as a form of upvote, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So as the last part of number 3, I would talk about negotiability. One thing that's been always how easy. So let me explain the problem, right? You put in a pre-proposal, you get people to, you don't know how many people consent to that or how many people like that current iteration. We already talked about getting that done. And then first off, will there be a revision history that will notify all present voters to where they're like, update, a key offering has been restructured in this proposal, please review your votes. So because, for example, that happened with the logo voting, which is why they had to have multiple votes, is because the first round of logo voting, I believe Fernando changed the rules or clarified the rules of this has to do a majority pass rather than a 5- refund pass in order to be considered. And a lot of master owners were confused about that in the beginning, so they had to redo the vote. But if they'd been informed, hey, this got clarified, oh, you should reconsider, you should review your votes and see if you still want to do that. So first off, revision history. And second off, is there going to be any kind of a available budget warning? Either like whenever you're trying to hit concept to put concept to actual proposal, let's say there is only this much left in the budget that's been unrequested, and then there's been this much that is actually spoken for right now. Basically, warning, are you sure you want to put in a proposal and surely lose your 5- at this stage for months like this? Is there, so one, revision history, and two, is there going to be a warning that you're asking for money when there's no money to ask for?
So yeah, I'll take on the revision history piece, and then I'll hand it off to Jeff for the second part. What we're looking at now, and I think this is just going into development now, is we're going to have a data structure for how revisions happen. And once we have that data structure piece, you'll have basically, what those versions look like, and notifications are going to be a part of this too. A big part of, if you're going to be a part of the Dash Nexus community, you will be receiving notifications to a certain degree of your control. And so if you've expressed interest, or if you've contributed to comments and those sorts of things, you're going to have that forum functionality. So you should receive notifications not only when there's new comments and things, but yes, also if you've favorited a proposal that you're watching, any updates on that you should automatically get. That's the current expectation. I don't think at this time that we're actually going to implement revision history in the MVP, but we have structured data for it. That's
maybe. It might make it. It might make it.
Okay, so yeah, I know that's been under discussion in the past few days, so I might be a little behind on that. But so I think that's my piece, and then the second piece, Jeff, you want to take that?
Sure. So the second piece was if I'm remembering right, Joel, is about how do we tell these people that things have changed, right?
Mm-hmm. How do we tell people that things have changed? And then the second bit was, how do we inform people that the budget is too tight?
The horse trading came to mind.
So in terms of informing people, we're gonna make a much bigger deal out of notifications than Dash Central ever did. What you had there was an option to tie it into Slack if you so choose through a webhook. And frankly, we use that. It's pretty handy. You get notified when people upload a new proposal, but there's a lot more we could do with Slack notifications, with Discord notifications, with email notifications, with on-platform notifications. All these things that cloud native companies today use to drive engagement on their platforms. At the end of the day, governance is only as good as the number of people engaged in it. We look at the United States, and we're all complaining about why the government's not working. It's because civic engagement is at all-time low. If Dash has low civic engagement, we have the same problem. How do we drive engagement up? We bring people back to the platform. And so with lots of different notification types, we're going to come to you on whatever device you're on.
Okay, let's use real problems. Let's put the Dash Nexus team to the test in real time. So, George, you're a proposal owner. What are your biggest concerns or problems when submitting a proposal on Dash Central? And then we'll see if Dash Nexus has solved those problems for you.
Well, the whole back and forth of going between the Dash Central website and my wallet, that is tense. And people are always contacting me about, George, can you help me? Because I'm so scared to try it. Maybe I'll burn my 5 Dash and then totally lose, whatever bit of data I need.
I definitely remember the late at night messages from MMA star Chael Sonnen being like, did I get this right? Where do I put this copy? Where do I copy this? Am I going to lose the 5 Dash? Yes, I know those.
Yeah. And then another issue is all the formatting, which, it's like I put in, I love Dash Central, but I put in a title, and then I made it too big, and now it's like actually 20 times bigger than I wanted it, and I can't undo it. And then the whole thing of, those are just 2 basic issues I've had. Those are really the only serious things. But the other thing is just the whole thing about when you go and you put a proposal, especially as a new person, it's like you're just kind of like, you put all this work and energy and concern and hopes into something, and then it's like you throw it into an abysm, a cavern, because nobody talks to you,
Yeah.
And so as a new person,
it's almost like cold applying to jobs, but you have to pay $100 each time you send out your resume somewhere, and you're just like, oh man, I hope someone bites on this.
Yeah. And
it's
so
like college applications.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's been really helpful, so I know I'm going off track just a little bit, bear with me. One of the things that's been really helpful is when I've made connections with masternode owners who then advise me. So in addition to the taking donations, to pay the proposal fee, maybe you could have something where masternode owners could, register their interest in serving as an advisor to X or Y project, I don't know, but those are my 2 main pain points and the ones I've seen in other people: formatting and the process of actually, burning the 5 Dash and all that.
Yeah. So we were very much addressing those first 2 concerns. Did I just? No, you muted. So in terms of the submission flow, we completely agree with you. Alt tabbing, from Dash Central to a core wallet to back and forth, no good. That is not a good user experience. So by making proposal submission run through the back end on our site, we handle all that complicated stuff for you. You don't have to run a full node. All you do is you'll scan the QR code that requests, 5.001 Dash, whatever it is, enough to get the transaction through. And then it sends that off to the network. It submits everything on your behalf and sends you a notification when it's done. And just like that, you don't have to go back to Dash Central, claim the proposal, because we already know it's yours. And then we've had all the information that you've put in already. So when your proposal goes live, it's not blank. You don't have to have a mad dash to copy paste stuff in there, fix formatting issues, before people start looking at it. It's just a seamless process from start to finish.
There's a preview button before you submit the 5-dash, so you could see what it looks like in its final version. You could submit it for free as a concept where it'll look exactly the same as a live proposal. So it would have ideally been up as a concept for some time before you even click the button to pay the 5-dash to convert it. You don't have to go to any core wallets, anything outside of that. I think we spent probably a good 10 minutes on that out of the 2-hour video with Mark. So if you hop to that, you can see some screenshots. The visual design we're finalizing, but in terms of functional design, the UX, it's all laid out there. So you could go and check it out.
And Jeff, really in the video, don't you copy paste out of Google Docs into the proposal generator, and it holds its formatting?
It holds its formatting. Everything looks right. I think we just maybe have more like double carriage returns in there right now that may or may not change. But other than that, like I tested it a couple of times to make sure it would fit with the workflow that we use, and I assume other people use as well. Whereby you're collaborating in something in Google Docs as you're preparing your proposal, and then when it comes time to go from your version of the description to bring it into Nexus, you're probably going to do some form of copy pasting, and the last thing you want to do is completely have to rewrite it because the formatting's a mess.
Well, Chuck, you know what this sounds like, don't you? Dash is digital cash that your grandmother could use. Dash Nexus is decentralized governance your grandmother can use. That's what it sounds like. Is that the goal?
Yeah, actually it does feel that way. Yeah, I mean, these guys are behaving very much like the UX team that I dreamed of.
And George, there was a last part of your question regarding proposal advisors and masternode owners acting as such. So it's definitely something we discussed a lot internally. We think it's a great feature. We don't know, again, if it'll make it into the MVP. We have some pretty serious budget constraints because we received about half the cash that we requested because the price went from $389 to $140 in
what that's like.
Couple of months that were paid out. I'm sure you're all too familiar with it. So we have to be very careful about which features are absolutely vital and critical for a functional launch of the platform and which are nice to have. So everything that's nice to have, we have phase 2 bucket, which we'll begin work on immediately after we roll out the MVP. But the proposal advisory role we're taking very seriously. We think it's going to be a great addition to the platform.
Awesome. Yeah, and my only other pain point was, when I wake up at 4 a.m. and then I realize I got 10 new downvotes and the price of Dash fell by $10. Can you guys help me with that?
Do you want to get a QR code tattooed on your forehead? You just go, oh, what am I gonna do? And then people can go. It's much easier. Mark doesn't even have to do this. You can just put it right there. It's just always there.
I mean, there's a secret feature we haven't mentioned. Every proposal that gets posted on Nexus automatically passes and gets funded. It's magic.
And if it runs out of treasury funds, then it automatically defaults to siphon from the PIVX treasury and then from the Smart Cash treasury. Is that correct? You can make that happen.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I love that.
We actually hacked into their API to steal their funds. It's great.
So I have a question.
One might think.
Anyway. So I have a question. So although I'm just so used to seeing Dash Central now, it's been around for a long time, and some people look at it and say it's a bit archaic. It looks really dated. When Dash Nexus is up and running, do you think people will take more notice of the Dash DAO, Dash decentralized governance? Do you think people will look at Dash in a different way?
That's definitely our hope. The more we can do to improve, the friendliness of our applications and the approachability of them, the more likely we are to attract new users. It's the same thing Core is trying to do with Evolution. Same thing you want to do. Anytime you want to make something, used by more people, you make it easier to use.
What if George finds a really big business owner in Colombia and wants to integrate Dash? If he sends them to Dash Nexus website and he knows absolutely nothing about Dash, but his idea is really good for the network, if he goes to Dash Nexus, will that explain everything to him, like how the treasury system works? Would it be a step-by-step process? Can we really just send anyone there that knows nothing about Dash and they'll be able to use it?
Well, Mark, funny you ask. One thing we actually didn't show in the demo walkthrough that we did with you the other day is a landing page that is currently under development. So new users all arriving will actually first see a landing page which describes how the DAO works, how proposals work, who master node owners are, how to make a proposal, how to become a master node owner, and really walk you through the system. So before you even jump into the Proposal Explorer, you will have an understanding of the basics of how the ecosystem works. And then should you choose to dive in and create a proposal, one, you could do it without by starting a concept without risking any funds. Throughout the proposal creator, we've integrated tons of tips, tricks, hints on how to create a successful proposal. Something we're thinking potentially long-term, and this may fall outside of the Nexus team even, but we received some feedback from the community and from our small test group, is that there is a strong demand for coaching proposal owners during the proposal creation phase, perhaps even before it appears as a concept. So perhaps that is something that will eventually appear as a paid service down the line, either coming from our team or from some other community members, almost like a consulting fee. You pay a couple Dash, takes a few hours, somebody who's really familiar with the system, really familiar with the circumstances of where the DAO is, and can provide advice on how to structure a proposal. So yes, it definitely is our goal to make this process as easy and seamless for newcomers into the ecosystem so that the ecosystem can grow and flourish.
Well, that's great.
Here's an idea. I don't know if it's a good one. It's just an idea. We're talking about so easy your grandmother can use, and part of it is just the trying to get a hold of and learn how to use Dash before you start participating in the proposal process. Now, what if one could create an uphold integration into Dash Nexus so that people, for example, an outside contractor of some kind, like a company wanting to integrate some Dash or do advertising, could pay for it with their bank account, so to speak, as in when they submit the proposal, it would buy Dash and send it there. Or also for people who have to work on especially pegged fiat values, it would be linked to their uphold account. For just giving uphold is a very basic kind of example of the concept, to where as soon as the proposal gets paid out, it gets locked into fiat and converted for those volatility times. Because I know there's a lot of people who've said, oh, we need to submit another proposal, we need to do whatever, because the value of the money that we got in has gone down since then. So what do you think about that general idea of doing a fiat gateway?
It's something Yuri actually brought up a couple of weeks ago.
This is how you know Yuri's smart.
We've thought about it. We've talked about it. We got to run it by the lawyers. That's one thing that comes into play. And then beyond that, my was you're asking people to pay for something in dollars, but yet they're going to be receiving Dash. It seems a little bit disconnected.
I disagree, because more often than not, I mean, we've introduced so many people. I'm just thinking of MMA fighters, media celebrities. Whenever we have to do a lot of hand holding and showing them, and then the question comes, it's like, oh, I need the 5 Dash, and they don't have the Dash. Now they know how they're going to use the Dash that they receive for whatever services they're going to offer, but more often not, they get to the stage like, well, I need to get 5 Dash now. So I think if it really is going to be grandmother user friendly and intuitive, I think that feature there, I hadn't even thought of myself, but that is a really big problem. If it is going to be borderless and open for anyone to use, that idea is I think really key.
Yeah. So let's talk about an example.
1 second, Joel. Yeah, no Mark, back to my point though, if you're submitting this proposal, you're going to get paid in Dash. What are you going to do with that Dash afterwards? I mean, unless you're paying everybody, all of your subcontractors, whoever else with the Dash you receive, if you have to turn any of that into dollars, you really got to learn how to use an exchange at some point.
That's true. I'm just thinking of previous experiences of Ben Swan, MMA fighters, where they've come on board and they know how they're going to utilize that Dash that they receive for good purposes.
And fun fact with Swan, I actually had to loan him his proposal fee because he was dealing with issues with Kraken trying to get the Dash out in time, and it was just delays and stuff. And so this kind of had to happen. But so, for example, taking, say, the Great American Pilgrimage, say you take them. What happened is they needed to go through an escrow service, Green Candle, which is that very first proposal of theirs is still if you look at Dash Central, still the subject of controversy surrounding that. What if, because they have to pay everything in fiat, what if they requested a certain amount and then they got paid straight into their fiat conversion mechanism on their own, so they could handle all the legal expenses or whatever else of receiving income for this. And then they can just run the whole thing rather than having to get a bunch of middlemen in the process.
It's interesting. I mean, overall, as Jeff pointed out, we have been discussing this concept for some time, and just to kind of take it back, there with Nexus we have two overarching goals. One is to create better tools to allow masternode owners to make more effective evaluation decisions on proposals. So give them the tools necessary to make good decisions. The second is to make the system easier for proposal owners to join the ecosystem, thereby increasing the number of proposals, thereby actually increasing the competition for the treasury inadvertently, but also increasing the quality of the proposals that got approved as a result of this increased competition. So in that vein, allowing for people to pay with credit cards or with bank accounts for the proposal fee definitely makes it easier and is in line with that second goal. It's certainly outside the scope of the MVP and the current, development phase and scope of the funding that we asked for. There's additional legal expenses, as Jeff mentioned. We need to make sure that we're processing the funds in a way where we're not taking on any risk or liability on the Nexus end, and without requirements for money transmitter licenses and such. There's considerations, as Jeff brought up, in terms of providing the necessary educational materials to proposal owners who may choose to pay a fee. So, if they do it, perhaps we need to create an additional page or something that suggests options for how they can utilize their Dash, should they need fiat at some point. But it is definitely something that's on the roadmap. It's not locked in. We don't know exactly when it will happen. Our goal right now is to deliver a functional platform, keep a lot of the features that we have right now, make it workable, and grow it beyond that as time passes. So, even from this call, it seems like there's a pretty strong demand from community members saying, yeah, this is a great idea and we'd want to see it. So, internally, we might push it up on the prioritization list in terms of is it going to make it into phase 2 or phase 3 or whatnot.
And, Yuri, this is actually a chance for us to talk about, we could even take advantage of polls inside a Nexus on our own proposal, for a future phase to, get community feedback on that.
Chuck, all this talk about exchanges and stuff, it reminds me of a podcast I did with you last year with Joel, and you was talking about the Dash.org website, and you were saying in your ideal world, there'll be an exchange like how to buy Dash on the homepage. So without going into that and bringing up history, in all honesty, are you happy with the user experience, the user friendliness, how intuitive Dash Nexus is going to be?
Well, yeah, basically it boils down to they're hitting all the very necessary high value areas. I mean, every concern that everybody has brought up is being addressed in some way, right, by this product, which means they're hitting on all four cylinders. We're targeting the right areas, and we've got designs that we can share, and we're talking with specific kinds of community members, and we're getting a lot of feedback from various other aspects of community. So we have that beta group that Yuri mentioned, and in my opinion, that's how you build a great user experience. You have to understand the organization goals, which is one of the first things that I did even before I started working with these guys, right? I was like, what are you guys trying to do? What are you really up to? You know, and Jeff showed me a lot of the design work back in November, December 2017, you know, and I've always hoped for Dash Nexus since then. So because even then it was a good product. They had the right ideas. I think they were focused on the right stuff. There was value to both community members from a proposal and masternode owner perspective. They're basically managing or planning to provide a full market environment for the supply and demand side of proposals. They're making proposals easier to enter, reducing the friction for proposals, and that's going to make it a great experience for proposal owners, but also for masternode owners. We're taking the knowledge, and this is one of the things that I think is most valuable. We're actually taking the knowledge that the network has already invested from Dash Watch and existing masternode owners and the community, and kind of aggregating all the pain points that have been expressed and spitting those out into, okay, masternode owners, here's some tools. Okay, community, here's a division of conversation. Okay, community, here's how we're going to try another way to moderate and self-police our conversation. And we're trying to hit all these pain points in various ways, right, with this new environment. So, and all of that boils down to, yes, great experience, planned, and will solve a lot of pain points. And if you can just remove pain and remove friction, it's going to be a better thing than what we have today.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, I mean, one of the things that attracted me first to the Dash community was this notion that it's self-governing, self-evolving, and can withstand the test of time as a result. You know, I joined at the peak of the Bitcoin block size debate, you know, when they took the 18 months or 2 years or whatever it may be, and it culminated in a network fork. And as we all know, you know, Dash voted on it basically overnight. So the idea that the network can govern and fund itself to continue to evolve is exceptionally powerful in my understanding, and demonstrating that the network can fund to build tools to improve itself, to evolve even faster in the future, I think is going to be a very, very powerful narrative that can be shared across not only the Dash community, but the crypto industry and the global business community as a whole. So once the platform is live and being used, we will certainly be making a major push to educate the broader market of its existence, of the recent developments, and of the future plans.
You know, in crypto, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, you go ahead, please.
You know, in crypto, people talk about governance as being all about exit, right? You know, because we're always in a community, it's always the balance between voice and exit. You know, do I try to plead my case? Do I try to give input, change things, or do I just leave and do my own thing somewhere else? In Dash, we have both voice and exit. Our voice is very strong. Exit is always an option, as it is with other cryptos, but voice is so strong here. And as much as I love Dash Central and Dash Vote Tracker, they're so useful. But you know, it just seems like from what I'm hearing from you guys, Nexus is going to be so useful in strengthening our already strong voice options in Dash. I am just so looking forward to being able to start using it.
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was going to say. Like, I truly hope the Dash Nexus gets the support that it deserves. This isn't a project that's going to be here today, gone tomorrow. This is the future of Dash governance. And I feel this is so crucial and key, just not to the future of Dash, but the success of Dash, because I think this is going to, I almost feel like it's going to be a paradigm shift, because I think it will actually change the perception of how people actually look at Dash. Especially when you look at governance. No one wants to read a white paper from Civvy Street, but actually having something that's not just aesthetically pleasing to look at, but it's just intuitive and it's just all there to see, and a history of records. This is what we've needed. You know, we've been crying out for this. And but like, okay, so let's get real for a second. So as I've already said, I voted for your proposal, but since your proposal has gone up, the price of Dash has gone down. So in the video we did, this up on the channel, I encourage everyone else to go watch if you've not seen it yet. You mentioned that even if you do get funding this month and the price stays where it's at, that you're probably going to have to submit another proposal for the next cycle as well. Do you just want to talk about that quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look through our proposal, we put together all of our financials in terms of what we received, what the price was when we received, what our expenses, what addresses all the funds went to. So it's all public, and it's very clear from that chart half the money for originally. So completing a project of such scale is very, very difficult with half of the resources. Now, we understand how tight the budget is this budget period with course tax liabilities, with all the other vital proposals that are happening, the integrations that are happening in Venezuela and Zimbabwe, where it may be. So while in order to truly compensate us and receive the amount of funding that we originally asked for at the time that we asked for it, we would have to come to the community with an ask of for $140,000 this month, which would be 1,000 Dash ask, which would be entirely unfeasible. So we are actually taking on personal risk, deferring our salaries, deferring the reimbursement expense that we asked for in the original proposal, the costs we incurred before putting up the first proposal, because we spent several months actually preparing the project before even our first proposal went up, and focusing our funding on ensuring that STRV, our development partner, team that could deliver this project to completion. And we're just talking about that. So the current top-up proposal, the 200 Dash, is actually somewhat of a stopgap. You know, it's something that will allow for us to keep up the momentum and stay on track and stay on pace without removing half of the development team. We will have to come back to the community with an additional ask. We'll probably be putting up a multi-month proposal next month, which will outline exactly what we need through project completion and maintenance after launch before a following proposal at some point down the line asking for funds for phase 2. You know, this will largely be dependent of how the crypto industry and Dash specifically plays out over the next several months. But we are engaging in conversations with all the other major proposal owners to ensure that our asks aren't debilitating to the rest of the community. We're trying to be very mindful because, of course, we see the value in all of these proposals going through. But of course, there are the realities of, you know, what we set out to do is necessary to see the project through to completion.
Okay, well, get me excited. When can Joel and when can George use Dash Nexus? Like, when is this going to launch? 1-2 months?
If we are able to secure the funding this month, and with the proposal that we put up next month, we will be able to hit the release deadline of the middle of October as we originally intended. If for some circumstances we are unable to secure the funding, we may have to cut the dev team, which could stretch out the project to the end of November or even into December. And should the prices continue to plummet and all of our existing and future proposals get rejected, we will unfortunately simply be unable to deliver. These are the realities, and we want to be upfront and clear about them.
Well, that's not going to happen because George is going to be onboarding 450 merchants in Colombia. If you vote for his proposal, make it happen. Minimum.
That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, we should stop paying people like George before they've actually delivered anything. We should wait for them to do all the hard work and then pay them.
You know what's exciting for me is that means the next Dash Force proposal could be submitted on the Dash Nexus platform, which makes me really excited.
That's right.
Can you notify us when this is going to be launched so that we can get special insider preferential treatment to be the very first proposal on the platform?
There is one of the 3 amigos that is actually in our beta group that is
been outed.
Very, very well aware of the status of development and will absolutely be invited to the first group of testers.
Justin?
that will be able to create their concept and proposal and be ready even before the system launches.
Yep. And that being said, you know, we're targeting the mid-October launch, but that doesn't mean, you know, we're a black box until then. You know, we're going to continue sharing updates with the community, continue giving first small groups and then larger groups access to play around with the site, and make sure that we really, at the end of the day, we're building this for the community. The community is not giving feedback. What's the point?
I just want to warn Chuck right now and Joel, do not register at StayDashy as a username on their platform. Okay?
No, I wouldn't do that to you. Come on.
Yeah, but
go to the database and reserve it.
So let me put it this way: you can't have both on Dash Nexus and on the Evolution username. You can't have both. I have one of them.
Well, actually, this is a great point, Joel. So with the usernames, you can actually attach organizations that you're part of. But say if George submits a proposal and like he comments on a Dashforce proposal, and I'm like, who's this George guy? I can click on his name and I can see all his previous proposals, kind of his reputation, and they were kind of talking like
dismiss him as a troll right away.
Like in the Dash forum, after a while you get like trophies, like your achievement unlocked, all that sort of stuff. So you
also got trophies.
You can see like reputations and stuff as well, and I think that's actually going to bring like a whole new. Hopefully, it'll bring a lot more respect in the comments section. I hope
you'll have your proof of importance score featured there.
Basically,
yeah. Which, by the way, that's for those who don't know, that's a NEM joke because that's their consensus algorithm,
right?
Okay. But yeah, the user profiles, organization profiles, we'll be rolling out a basic version of user profiles at the start. Again, this is MVP. We're delivering features that begin to add value and that are the most impactful. Down the road, we continue to build on those further. We're building the skeleton to have room for more bones. But the organizations, Mark, we're still on the fence whether they make it to MVP or not.
Okay. Well, one thing you have to include, because me and Joel both love this on Dash Vote Tracker, is the voting graphs on seeing the votes in the history. You have to have that in there.
They are. Those are absolutely in there.
Because we love those.
So, is it possible for concepts to be separated by cycle? For example, what if someone submits a concept? Is it possible to say, well, this is just a general concept for whenever? Or is it possible to say, is it possible to put a tag on your concept that you intend to do this cycle, which of course you can remove? The only reason I'm asking that is because you could potentially have a giant pool of concepts just waiting for the right time to strike. Or you could also see how many concepts could fit in the budget currently. For example, if everyone's tagging, and then you could just say, I intend to submit, and then at some point it becomes too competitive and you just remove the intention to submit that month, but you keep the concept around.
I think that's an interesting idea. It's not something we have right now, Joel.
You're fired.
We did talk about it. We did talk about it in the group, though, didn't we? We talked about in a couple of different ways.
I'm not sure that I have the perfect answer for that right now. I think that there are too many things that are subject to change around that, around timing, around cycle lengths, around a lot of stuff that I don't really want to be a focus of this call, but that may affect that in ways that we don't anticipate yet.
Yeah. So, and to dovetail that, we did talk about in the beta group and among some other people about ways to basically signal that, yes, this is intended for future, but we talked about that in the context of what Georgia brought up earlier, that kind of coaching, and that Yuri had talked about a little bit also, where there's a proposal that's sitting out there as a concept, and maybe this person who submitted the concept is like, hey, is this a good idea? Do you guys, masternode owners, do you want to help me with this? And then you can kind of signal, hey, I'm going to work on this idea for like 2 or 3 months or something like that. There has been expressed by a few masternode owners that it'd be nice to know when something is going to be submitted ahead of time. So if they give the advice, it's still contextually valid, or it can be withdrawn at some point. So I think that's there may be some things that we can do. Again, probably not MVP, but that can facilitate that first part of what you're describing. But then the next piece of that is we're also going to provide like statistical output and informational data about the payouts. We'll have charts about monthly month proposals, how much has been paid out, the value at each of those payouts in dollars and Dash, those sorts of things. So you'll also have the masternode owners operators. Somebody in the chat room wants me to say operators instead of owners, because it is actually the operators who do the things.
Probably a bad person, and their opinion should be discounted.
So masternode operators,
I need to train myself to say that as well,
right? Who are actually executing the votes and reviewing these things. They can see what's been paid. They'll have more evaluative functions in terms of the statistics, the budget readouts, and those sorts of things. So there's kind of a two-pronged approach there. Again, kind of dividing the work between the supply half and the demand half of the proposal and governance system equation.
Talking about masternodes, one thing that, if there are any masternodes watching this, I've kind of been looking at Dash Nexus through like masternode glasses, and I actually vote for proposals using the DMT tool. So I know
he's taking the DMT.
So yeah, so I appreciate people that aren't masternode owners won't know what I'm talking about here, but there's a specific tool that you can use. So you can actually have a user profile on Dash Central right now and vote on that. But I actually prefer to use an external third-party DMT tool, because I've got filtered options on there, because there's so many proposals now. I can just filter things that I voted on before and exclude them out. So it just makes my life a lot easier, and I don't have to go through the same things. But I won't have to worry. That'll be a thing of the past with Dash Nexus, because all these filters are actually built in. So I'll be happy as Larry that I can just do everything that I want to do on Dash Nexus. So there'll be no need for me to really use the DMT tool anymore. I don't think anyway. But yeah, so that for me is a big win. And I think if masternode owners aren't aware of that, that's something they should be cheerleading about, because for me, that is a huge win. For me personally.
Yeah, yep. I agree with that.
Cool. Well, George, as I've been sort of cheerleading Dash Nexus and plugging their proposal, is there anything about your proposal that you want to plug? Because what is there, like 5 days left to vote now?
5 days left to vote, and I don't know, I was kind of worried there for a while, having those sleepless nights and whatnot. But earlier today, in a span of 20 minutes, I got 90 new upvotes. So I seem to be doing all right, but I would like some more votes, votes if possible, because we are doing something here that no one else is doing. They're not even doing this in Venezuela. We are getting the merchants. We are doing transactions. Here. We are. It's an integrated proposal, and so we invented a new strategy. I mean, we're not doing the meetup strategy. We're not doing the conference strategy. We are getting down in the soil, and we are working directly with our target market, which is unbanked and underbanked merchants of the informal economy, mostly or partially informal. And I think that this strategy already, people are seeing that it's producing unique results. And I think people are going to continue to see that. It's going to continue to influence everything that happens in crypto adoption from now on. And so really, we can take this big places. We can really go big with this. I think I am already surprised by the things that are happening that are, I'm not even touching things, and things are coming to me that I was totally unexpected. And so this is really a grand experiment here. And it's doing wonders so far. So please, if you could have we could have your support. And I'm available anytime to talk with anybody via over any medium, phone, video conference.
Well, how can people find you? Whatever. How can people find you? What's your Twitter? What's the best way to contact you?
I'm on Twitter at George Donnelly, or you can also find me via dashcolombia.org. I'm on George Donnelly on Discord. I'm in Dash Nation on Discord. I'm on Facebook, George Donnelly, George at dashcolombia.org. And if you look at my proposal on Dash Central, and click through to the PDF, all the way at the end is all my contact details. And I talk to masternode owners and other members of the community, proposal owners, prospective proposal owners all the time. I'm guiding a bunch of people who are moving towards putting in a proposal. And so I love to talk to everybody in the Dash community, because the more I get into it, the more excited I get about Dash, the more passionate I get. And so, yeah, I mean, let's do it.
Well, this is great. I mean, we've got Danny from the Crypto Show in the live chat. He's shown an interest in Dash Nexus, and yourself as well, I think. So hopefully we can get the Dash Nexus crew and George yourself to talk about Colombia on the Crypto Show as well. So maybe Chuck can twist some arms there and make that happen. Can you do that for me, Chuck?
Try. Yeah, well, I'm going to try and get everybody on. Yes, for sure.
What about me and Joel?
You guys want to come on?
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, I'll come on anytime. I actually asked him to be on a show recently. He kind of ghosted me on that. I feel kind of crappy.
Mate, shout out to Danny. I haven't laughed so hard in weeks. Well, he posted a photo of a Tone Vase on Twitter, putting like the Dash hat on.
The context to that was at the end of some show, in between things, Tone was asking, "Yo, when are you going to take off that ridiculous Dash hat? Well, I'll pay you. How much do I have to pay you? No, really, stop it. You shouldn't do it." Like it wasn't just haha, take the Dash. Like he was actually annoyed that he had to share a microphone or a podcast with someone with a Dash hat on. He was trying to bribe him, and so next thing, Danny just puts the hat on Tone's head and gets a picture in the action because Danny's the manny.
Yeah. Speaking of which, so we know how to contact George. What about you, Nexus boys? You guys need to set up some social media. I want to see a Twitter handle for you.
All right, we'll get you a Twitter handle.
Yeah.
I actually brought it up earlier this week.
Yeah, I want to start tagging you guys in things, and yeah, I think you guys got a lot of things going. So right now, if anyone does want to address some concerns with Dash Nexus, their best bet's probably to go to actually Dash Central and write in the comments, or contact you on Discord. You have your own dedicated channel within Discord, correct?
Yep,
That's right.
Excellent.
Yeah, Dash-Nexus in the Dash Nation Discord.
Excellent. So, guys, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we begin to wrap it up? And Joel will take us out.
Dash to the moon.
To the moon.
Yeah.
Go team.
Like Lambos, where we're going, we don't need any Lambos.
Moon rovers.
We're gonna have Dash doggies.
We don't need
value is
Lambos.
belief.
We've got Dash Nexus.
When are we going to get a Dash DeLorean made?
Wow.
That's what we need.
Do you know
Photoshop
what?
can get you that today.
I really want to get.
How about we do like hashtag Dash can afford this again someday? Maybe we can get a custom made DeLorean shaped Tesla.
That's what I want. That's my dream. I actually want a DeLorean.
I didn't even. He never said that, but I know what's on his mind.
Yes.
And it's not hair, but there's a lot else on his mind. And yeah, I knew.
He knows. I just think in memes all the time. So like sometimes it's like, Mark, just communicate in memes. It's easy. You make more sense that way. Yeah, no, I would love that. Just to have a that'd be amazing. Well, now I'm thinking about DeLoreans. So guys, wow, I've really enjoyed this podcast. It's been so informative, and by the looks of the chat, people have enjoyed this as well. So we've been over 2 hours or 2 hours on the mark now. So that's great. It's flown by.
Mark, anytime we hop on a call with you, it's 2 hours.
So I know you guys meaning the viewers, don't have anything better to do with your life. So thank you for sitting through this 2 hour long podcast. If you want to learn more about Dash Nexus, I know another 2 hour long video you can watch that I myself have not gotten around to watching. But please do. That's 4 hours of your life that you'll never get back, but you won't feel empty. Unlike that last Netflix B movie bender you were on. This 4 hour time commitment won't leave you feeling empty and worthless inside. This will make you feel happy and fulfilled about the future of Dash, future of governance, the future of the future, also known as Future Squared.
Excellent. So thank you to the Dash Nexus crew, Chuck, Jeff, Yuri. Thank you for all coming on.
Thank you, Mark.
Brother.
Thank you, George, for coming on first as our first guest, and welcome.
My
It's your first time
pleasure.
on the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure.
We had to just like it's almost like it's like the invasion of the Huns, just a bunch of people piling onto this podcast. If you like to have a bunch of random people on microphones and webcams all talking about Dash related stuff for obscene amounts of time, we have another treat for you. There's the after party that we host. If you go to dashchat.org, that gets you into the Dash Nation Slack, and you start asking around, hey, where's the after party at? It's like this, less business related, more formal, not recorded, up to 10 people at a time. Sometimes it lasts into the wee hours of the morning. So keep on trying. If you like this, you can participate in something similar. And especially Albert. Albert needs to participate because he hasn't been in a while and he missed a lot of crucial information. I'm yelling at him in another chat right now for that. So Albert, you know what to do.
Excellent. That was episode 66 of the Dash Force Free Amigos podcast.
Illuminati confirmed.
Have a fantastic weekend. Stay positive. Stay humble.
Stay dashy.
And stay dashy. Catch you later, folks.
You guys.
Until next time.
Yeah, thanks so much. This was a lot of fun.